Amstrad CPC means a lot to me. Will you come and see how I play Desi? If you're in love with retro gaming, come and join the board. And if you want a Friday foursome, watch him and you could. Novabug.
How you doing, everyone? Novabug here. How are you? And I've said that twice in the beginning 5 seconds. This proves how much long I've done this. You see, I can't even get my words out. But anyway, this is a response video. I haven't done one of these for a fair few months, years, possibly, yeah, I think over a year. Anyway, this is a response video to my very good friend Dave over at Lawnboyspost1975, and he posted a video today, I believe, or maybe yesterday, about Back to the Future. One of our shared loves. I also adore the Back to the Future series, the Back to the Future franchise, and especially the first film, much like he does. I suppose he is a super fan, and I'm a big fan of it. And it is the first the first film I ever saw at the cinema at the tender age of 7, I think I was 7 or 8, something like that. But it did stick with me, and it's a fantastic film and franchise that it is. I do agree with him that part 1 is my favourite, then part 3, and then part 2. It's subjective for every different people, but I agree with his order of the films. But his question was, why didn't, should I say? I'm really bad out of practice on this, aren't I? My words just aren't coming out, and I do apologise for this awful unsightly spot on the bottom of my lip, which is disgusting. Don't look at it, everyone. Turn your eyes away now. I'm going to be very self-conscious now I've mentioned it. Anyway, yeah, the Speccy, the Amstrad and the Commodore in particular, he was focusing on the 8-bit era during the sort of the 80s, mid-80s, late 80s, when the film originally came out, the first film, in 1985. It didn't get a very good game, did it? I think that's the point of what Lawnboy was going to say, or is saying. It didn't receive the admiration from the developers and didn't get rewarded with a good game like most movie franchises did. I mean, a good example for the Amstrad and the Spectrum and the Commodore would be Batman the movie, Total Recall for a lesser degree, Robocop, of course, 1 and 2. All very and Untouchables. Lots of film franchises got very good games. Unfortunately, Back to the Future didn't. So this is the first game, Back to the Future, and yes, it did have a port on the Amstrad, Dave. And it is just as bad as you describe it in your video. Yeah, awfully designed. The idea of it is okay. You have to make George fall in love with Lorraine, and you've got Lorraine and Biff on the screen at the moment, and then you've got your Marty's picture there, which is not very good, and then a picture of there's the picture of the family, I think, in the corner there, and these different icons. You collect different things, move around Hill Valley. In a very linear plane. I mean, you can't even walk up and down it. You're just walking side to side. It's a dull, very badly presented game. The graphics are poor, blocky, bad rendition of Huey Lewis. Listen, not a very good rendition. I mean, it doesn't even attempt to do the Back to the Future theme, which at least Back to the Future Part 2 and Part 3 on the Amstrad did do, and did good renditions of the theme. But yeah, it's a bad game. Back to the Future 2 was better, but a Spectrum port, so it wasn't properly tailored for the Amstrad. And Back to the Future 3, a much better game. My favourite of the 3 Back to the Future games on the system, but still didn't get, still not up there with a really good game. Nowhere near the likes of Batman and Robocop, that's for sure. So the question is, and Dave touched on the other Back to the Future games as well. He touched on the Telltale game, which came out a few years ago, the point and click, it's sort of like the continuation of the story. I'm going to turn this down a bit, 1 second. He touched on that, which is a decent game. It's well presented, but it is a continuation of the story and not a retelling of the original story, which is what we wanted to play. So I'm going to respond to this in a way that I think it should have been done back then. So it's all very well, Dave takes on what his ideas would have been for the game. This is a game based off the first film, based on the 8-bits. So he was talking specifically about how it would be built around the Spectrum. I'm going to talk about how it would be built on the Amstrad, but it's kind of a muchness. It would be similar for the 3 common platforms of the day. So if you were to say, for argument's sake, it came out in say 87, so 2 years after the film franchise, maybe 3 years, maybe 88, something like that, what could they have done with the games that were on offer at the time to make the game better? The first thing that I would have done, a bit like Back to the Future 2, was to make it a multi-game, to make it episodic. So you take instances from the film and you convert them instances in scenes from the film into a game. So the Back to the Future 2 and Back to the Future 3 did this, but again the implementation wasn't perfect. I think what they could have done with Back to the Future 1 is done a similar thing for this, but really, properly concentrate on the graphics and the presentation, and of course the audio. They gave us a very good rendition of the Back to the Future theme in Part 2 and Part 3 to a lesser degree. It was better on Part 2, funnily enough. They could have done that with this. So I would say you have 5 levels, much like, I'm thinking along the lines of Robocop and thinking along the lines of Total Recall and Batman and Navy SEALs as well. That you have 5 levels, and then 5 levels you are replicating parts of the film. So the first part of the film, and what it could do as well with the transitions from each level, it could do you a quick storyboard. I think Part 3 on the Amstrad gives you the storyboard as well, and so does Part 2, I think, to a lesser degree, but Part 3 certainly does give you a storyboard and a little bit of text to say what the part of the story you're going through. So the first bit could be Twin Pines Mall. It could be the first scene when you see the DeLorean for the first time and Marty first makes that time jump back to 1955, where he's being chased by the terrorists. Now this could have been really well implemented and very easily implemented when you think about the racing games that we had at the time. So if you think about the likes of, I'm thinking about Crazy Cars, that kind of style, that kind of look. So 88, 89 years around about the Crazy Cars 2 kind of thing. Maybe Crazy Cars 2, I think was 1990, but either way, it was that kind of, you'd be able to do it, and you could have the rear shot of the DeLorean with Marty in the DeLorean, and you controlling the DeLorean. You could be chasing around Twin Pines Mall car park. You'd be dodging the kiosks, dodging the Doc's van in the middle. You're avoiding gunfire, so you get like a shot saying it's going to go this way, and you avoid the gunfire for the bazookas and all that kind of stuff when the terrorists are trying to get you. This could be easily implemented, I think, back in the day. With a multi-load, of course, this could have been easily done. There's no reason why it wouldn't have been. I'm not a programmer, I'm not a specialist in this kind of field at all, but given what I've seen on the Amstrad and the Spectrum and what the machines can do, there's no reason why this wouldn't have been implemented in a well way. And what you could have done is reuse that engine for a later level as well, maybe the final level. So you have essentially a car chase level, going say circular and round around the car park, and eventually you get to a point where you've got to reach 88 miles per hour. So you have a speedometer in the corner. You see like a little graphic of the flux capacitor in the corner. Would be really cool, really cool. I think that would have worked. So if you look at the game screen of Knight Rider, for instance, but obviously a lot faster and a lot quicker than that. You see a back shot of the DeLorean, which would look really cool rendered in 8-bit, I would think. You chase around, and eventually you get to 88 miles per hour, and a few flashy effects, and bang, you time travel, and that's level 1 complete. Level 2, that could be a skateboard scene. So you have skateboard scenes in or should I say hoverboard scenes in Back to the Future 2. This could be the skateboard scene around the Hill Valley Square. So this would be a scene where you start at the diner, and you go around and you follow the roads around. Obviously you've got to stretch this out, of course. You go around the roads of Hill Valley, and you could implement this on a side-on view. So a bit like I'd say a little bit like a scrolling side-on thing, like a BMX simulator or something. Not BMX simulator, sorry. A stunt bike simulator or a ninja scooter simulator or something like that. Where you're side-on beach buggy simulator, something like that. Where you're side-on, and you can actually jump and grab hold of trucks to get a bit of a boost to get away from Biff's clan that are chasing you. And again, at the end, the objective at the end is to run into the shit truck, run into the manure truck. You dodge the manure truck at the end, and boom, Biff's clan go into it. Level 2 complete. Like an obstacle course kind of thing. You jump in from car to car to car. This kind of stuff I think could have been implemented quite easily when you break it down to its basics. And I think it would look quite good as well. Level 3, I was kind of thinking about this, because I know what level 5 would be, and I kind of know what level 4 would be too. So level 3, so the part of the story that after that would be the high school. So level 3 would be on foot. I think this is probably the best way to do it, is to be on foot, and you are a bit like this game, but obviously nowhere near, not in this fashion. I think top down would be good for this. Certainly a top down, a bit like level 2 of Back to the Future 2 on the Amstrad. So you go top down of the school, and you are of the school and off Hill Valley in parts. You could jump to sort of George's house as well. You could things like find your Walkman, find the biosuit, the radiation suit that Marty wears, scare George into going to ask Lorraine out for the date, and you build the level around that. So you're finding things around the school, around Hill Valley, around and George's house and stuff. You find implements that you need to complete. So you need to find the tape, the audio tape. You need to of Van Halen. You need to find the Walkman. You need to find the biosuit. You need to find the key to George's house, because how does Marty get into George's house? And then you complete the level by scaring George into asking out Lorraine. I think that's a good sort of transition to level 3. Level 4 would be I'd say a timing level. So this would be in the Fish Under the Sea dance, as Marty's sister calls it, the Enchantment Under the Sea. Enchantment, I went all American there. Enchantment Under the Sea dance prom. And so the scene will be set where you're looking at Marty and the band on stage. And a little thing in the corner, you could have a little image in the corner of Marty's family disappearing from the photograph, and you basically have a control time thing. You have a control system where you push a button in a certain direction on the joystick, left, right, up, down, with or without the fire button, to create 8 different motions. And these 8 different motions will be 8 different musical chords on the guitar that Marty is playing. You get a guide at the bottom, a bit like Guitar Hero kind of thing. You get a simple guide at the bottom that just scrolls, because the string would be static, the bottom could scroll using a split raster, something like that, and it would be the notes that you have to play. And then notes would be dictated by what position the joystick would be in, and you have to time it, and you have like a percentage accuracy, a timing thing in the corner to say how good it was. And if you fail, then obviously your family goes and you disappear at the end of it. But if you succeed, you've won the day. You've saved your parents get back together, and you have a nice little cutscene there, a nice little still image maybe of George and Lorraine kissing. That's level 4. Move on to level 5, the final level. This would obviously be back in Hill Valley Square, and this would be the final time jump back. So basically, you need to stretch this out. Obviously, you're at the end of way down the end of Hill Valley. You have a little bit of you can maybe have a little bit of a comedy still image of Marty struggling to start the car, and then you have a timer in the corner where it says something like "Till lightning strikes," and you have the clock. You have the clock, like the symbol of the town hall clock in the corner. Very easy to do. So I can't believe anyone would not do this. So I mean, I wish I could program, because I'd program it like this. And it has a countdown, as a 5-minute, as like a 2-minute countdown to the time the lightning strikes by the second. And you have to time it on the road when you hit the lampposts and the flux capacitor, and boom, back you go to the future, and the game's over. So basically, you'd be burning down the road as fast as you can. It's raining, so you have to avoid puddles, you have to avoid pedestrians and obstacles and trash cans, all that kind of stuff. Your usual kind of racing stuff. And you could reuse the engine from the first level in this. And when you get to the end, you time it. If you time it spot on, you get to it, and the whole screen lights up, and you Back to the Future. And that is how I would pitch Back to the Future back then, using what we could do back then on these systems. I think it could have been implemented very well if you followed that formula, the episodic formula. You don't have to go too bad with two levels, because they use the same game engine, and then 3 of the other levels are all different types of games, and all implemented in full graphics, all different designs, no shortcuts or no porting or anything like that. I think this would have worked on the Spectrum, the Commodore, the Amstrad, probably a few more systems as well. That's what I would have done with Back to the Future back then. But I can't go back in time, can I? Because it's already done. But if any of you indie developers out there on the Spectrum and Amstrad and Commodore, because I know there's loads of you out there, and if you are a Back to the Future fan, think about that idea, because I think it might be titillating. Titillating? Titillating. That's the word. Thank you very much for listening to me waffle on about Back to the Future. It's been nice to talk about that. Link in the description box to Lawnboyspost1975. Subscribe to that man, because he is a top waffler and a very good friend. Thank you very much for watching. Novabug, out. I've got to go back in time. That was awful.
Hey, Novabug here. I do hope you enjoyed this video. Please support the channel by liking and commenting, and of course subscribing if you haven't already done. If you would like to support me further, please consider joining my Bug Army via Patreon. And also don't forget to follow me over at Facebook, Twitter, BitChute and Twitch. And finally, a special mention goes to my Bug Army General, Sam M. Thank you everyone for supporting me. Novabug, out.